Hey there, Taurus. So this is the forecast taking you from the 25th of June right the way through to the 10th of July with the full moon in Capricorn. Now, this is an interesting 2-week period because we've got 3 planetary changes, not including the moon. But one of those planetary changes is the last of these big changes. These big energetic shifts. So we had in November, we had Pluto going into Aquarius finally. We've also had the North Node changing signs, but we had Neptune going into Aries in March. We had Saturn going into Aries in May. We had Jupiter going into Cancer in June, literally a couple of weeks ago. And now in this forecast period on the 7th of July, we're going to have Uranus going into the sign of Gemini. Now, this is such a big change, to have all these planets shifting like this. I mean, I'm not aware of when the last time this happened. It's completely outside of our understanding and, what was going on with humanity at that point. This is something that has never happened in any of our lifetimes of any kind of history that we know about. So this is a really unusual time. And I think with Uranus going into Gemini, the last of these planetary moves or the big new energy moves, this is really the game on moment. This is when we start to understand what changes are coming in and how humanity is going to be evolving and changing to live in a different way. What I see this 2-week period as representing from the new moon in Cancer, which ordinarily, a new moon in Cancer is very sort of gentle and soft and really emphasizing the need for compassion and forgiveness and feeling as stable and secure as possible. Those themes are definitely there, but there's also some very upsetting energy. It's in an exact square pretty much to Saturn and Neptune, a really tight square, not exact, sorry. There's also asteroid Truth and also asteroid Chaos actually in the middle of this in the middle of this new moon. So it's definitely bringing this idea that yes, there's a lot of chaos and things are falling down, things are breaking into pieces, but maybe they all needed to be broken down and they will find their new place. I really do think we have this disorderly energy coming on. And from that disorder will come some form of order, some new shape for sure. And then we have this full moon, which as far as I can see is encouraging us to take full responsibility. It's a full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn themes are very much about responsibility and ownership and accountability and discernment. All the Capricorn themes, very much about how can we rise up in our status? How can we be measured but also ambitious? There's a lot of very strong themes there, very Saturnian, very much about coming into a norm. And whilst we have this full moon going on the 10th of July, there are also some underlying energies which are really showing that it's time to break the chains and start building our future. And so, from this slightly chaotic new moon to this slightly anarchic but practical full moon, we've got a lot of stuff going on in between there. So what I want to do is guide you through this time with as much grace and ease as we can all muster, because I think our spiritual set points are really changing right now. I know mine is, I'm sure yours is too. But to me, it feels like it's a time for radical change. And that time is absolutely now. So yeah, let's have a look. Let's see what is coming up for you. If you're new to this channel, by the way, my name is Louisa Tanner Munson. Welcome. I'm delivering this from a rather hot studio in Portugal, Europe. Let's see what's coming up. In fact, before I bring up the first chart, there's going to be 2 charts that I look at. Before I bring up the first chart, I just want to thank everybody that supports this channel because you really do help me make it what it is. So thank you so much. Anyway, so I'm looking at this from the perspective of a whole sign Western tropical forecast. If you are watching this and you've got your sun in Taurus, that's absolutely fine. It is more designed around a Taurus ascendant. So if your ascendant is another sign, then feel free to have a look at that one as well. Most people that listen to the sun sign and the ascendant say they get a really good coverage. It really feels like they have got a really, really clear and detailed picture. If you're somebody who doesn't practice whole sign astrology, like me, for instance, in my personal astrology, I would look at a Placidus chart. And for me, if I had Taurus in my first house, Taurus ascendant, I might, with a Placidus model, also have Gemini in my first house too, because often there will be two. So it's also worthwhile having a look at the next sign along. If you use Placidus, that might be more helpful for you. But anyway, this is the Taurus energy that I'm talking about right now. So we've got the new moon in Cancer that we're starting with, and you'll see that's happening in your third house. This is all about community, belonging, what you know to be true from your upbringing. It's very much about the people that you grew up with, your siblings, your cousins, or your school friends. You know, it's a place where you've been quite normed. And so I see the new moon in this particular area of your chart as really offering you a new start in the form of community. You know, if you're not still in a community where you feel like you belong, maybe this is the start of belonging in the place that you're living in. You know, so how can you get that feeling of agency, you know, that feeling that, you know, you might have had in a place where everybody knew you? You know, how can you get that feeling of cohesion and sociability that you may have had in times gone by? To me, this is really showing your need for a feeling of security within your community, a sense of, I just think belonging is the key word here. Now, because Jupiter is also in a conjunction with this new moon, I think whatever efforts you take are going to spread and grow quite quickly. I think it could be very helpful. This could be very helpful and interesting as well if you've got some kind of skill set or something that you want to gift your community, you know, something that can help you build more within your community. It might be that the job you do could be integrated into the community more effectively, or maybe you want to volunteer or set up something that will really help at a grassroots level. All of this, you know, the new moon in a conjunction with Jupiter is going to really assist you during this time. Really, truly. And I think the offset of it is at the end of this 2-week period, whatever steps you've made should really help you feel a sense of greater belonging. So that is probably where I'd be looking. You know, if I was feeling a bit insecure and I had your chart, it might be because I'm looking for that feeling that I belong somewhere. So we're moving from here, and then the last chart we're going to look at is the full moon in Capricorn. Now you'll see here the moon, the sun is still down here, Jupiter's still here, but because the moon moves so fast, in 2 weeks it's come right to this part of the chart. This is the 9th house. This is the feeling of being away from home, away from your natural context, away from all the stories of your childhood, away to somewhere where maybe nobody knows you, nobody knows your history. You don't know anyone. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what the rules are. You don't know the language necessarily. You know, the 9th house represents travel and adventure, and it also represents opportunities to learn something new that you're not familiar with. So, you know, this is coming from a place that you're so familiar with, like a comfy pair of old slippers. And this is like you're wearing a new space age type of shoe. You know, it's taking you to a completely different consciousness. But it's exciting and it's necessary, because for us to grow and evolve, sometimes we need to come out of our shell and we need to experience something completely out of the ordinary. So, yeah, this is a journey from normalcy, you could say, to the abnormal, or the familiar to the unfamiliar, the known to the unknown. And so everything that is taking place between these two times, you know, in this 14-day period, everything here is going to help you, you know, understand your life at a much deeper level. Now, if we go back to one of my earlier premises, that is that this is a time of building foundations for your future. We are going through massive changes right now. Humanity is kind of shattering the limits. We're stepping into like a new freedom of our future, and we're looking to make empowered choices. How can those empowered choices take place? Well, you know, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking for you, it's in appreciating what you know and what you've got, and understanding that there's still so much more out there, stuff that you can't comprehend, stuff that you can't know, and you can't know it until you do know it. And the only way you can know it is by stepping out and stepping away. So yeah, there's a lot there. Now, you know, we're talking about shattering limits. and the freedom of the future. Now, Uranus is going to be moving into your second house. If you, I'm just going to go back to the new moon chart. You'll see at that point you had Venus in the first house and also Uranus in the first house. Now, Venus is your ruling planet, and I mean, she's up to some exciting stuff from the 4th to the 10th. Oh, yes, she is. So, at the start of this, with her in your first house, this is a time when you're feeling a little bit more confident than usual. You're feeling a lot more yourself. You're feeling a lot more at ease and feeling graceful. That will be showing because people will want to spend time with you. But as we come up to the 4th, by this point, Venus has moved and made a conjunction with Uranus. To me, Uranus passing out of your natal sign is going to be a really big deal, because since 2018, he has been helping you to change your perceptions, helping you to see just how different you need to be, and where you've got stuck in your role. And so Uranus has been changing your role for a long time, and maybe you'll notice your life has changed quite a bit since 2018. That you've come into a new understanding of yourself. Maybe you don't have to be such a stick in the mud. You don't have to be so responsible. Maybe there's a whole new side of you that's a little bit more rebellious. As Uranus and Venus come together, Venus is moving straight into the second house on the 4th. And then a few days later, Uranus joins her. And so I think these two, Venus and Uranus, are really working in your chart to give you a great new opportunity in terms of the way you're earning a living. Now, if we just go to Uranus, like after this change, so this is the full moon in Capricorn's chart. You've got Venus here, and she's moved from here to here, and Uranus is now in the sign of Gemini. He's a very, very slow moving planet, and as he comes into this part of your chart, he's going to be awakening a new sense of your awareness about money, how you want to use it, how you want to earn it. Most likely your ideas and your philosophies about what your life is about are going to really change quite dramatically. Venus, obviously rules the first house, and Uranus is ruling your 10th house. It's the ruler of Aquarius. That's the sign here. So the two of them coming together and almost opening the door to your second house together, hand in hand. To me, this is an indication that what's going on right now is a really fundamental change for you. You are really wanting to throw things in the air, with Pluto up here at the top of your chart, really saying, or implying that you have a need for more power or influence, that you want to, with great power comes great responsibility, this desire to really move up and to be very, very stable at the top. Uranus is, I think, showing where you might need to take some risks, or where you might choose to take some risks. The thing with Uranus, and I will talk about this in the Uranus in Gemini video, which I'll hopefully be releasing next week, there's going to be some big ups and probably some downs as Uranus goes through your second house. It's important that you begin to appreciate money in a different way, not as if it's this very stable thing, that it's this very easy to understand thing, because Uranus is going to really change your understanding of what money does. And I think you'll come to see money as a source of freedom, as a source of giving you things that you might need, giving you the tools that you need to get out and about, giving you the tools and resources that you can start to shape and direct your life in the way that you want it to be. So yes, because you're using money in a different way, to create a new sense of yourself, things are going to shift for sure. So this is quite an exciting part. During this time, Venus is also connecting in with Saturn and Neptune, and also Pluto, and is also in a square to Mars. So Venus is very, very active in this second part of the forecast. So what I would say in terms of this 2-week process is that the first week, you could say the first 10 days, yes, you've got this amazing new moon energy, which is giving you a sense of, what, I am going to start afresh, in my community. I'm going to think about new ways to belong. And I do realize that I'm on this journey to understand more about the world and more about myself and more about being human. And maybe I'm up for some adventure too. However, it's time for me to build myself a much stronger career, and I understand that's going to change the way I am with money. And so when I go back to that sort of founding idea of what this 2-week period is about building foundations for a brighter future, about knowing and acknowledging what needs to go, what you've already got that is not going to help you anymore, like letting go of it. How are you going to shatter the limits of your current experience so you can step into something new? How are you going to step into something new and make different and more empowered choices? So this is really going to be working at a very deep level. I think if you are wondering more about your career or more about how love might go, then it's important to know that I have a membership. If I go there now, you'll see that there's fortnightly relationship and connections forecast. There's a fortnightly career and ambition forecast. There's actually 2 community hangouts each month. And these are some of the things that we talk about. You know, it's a private Zoom call between me and the members. And sometimes we have as many as 12 people on in the chat. And we're talking and examining our charts at the same time and start working with each other's charts. So it's a place to learn and share together. There's loads going on. In fact, tonight I'm recording a new moon ceremony with the team and also Whitney Mullings. So if that sounds like something that's in your groove, you know, it's your vibe, it's you know, if you think this can help you navigate the changes that you might be going through, then pop along. All the links are below in the description fields. But yeah, ultimately I'm sending you love and luck and hoping you're having a really great time during this very we could say disruptive and rowdy set of circumstances, set of astrology, but have a really good one. And, you know, if I can be of help, all of my details are below. Lots of love to you. Bye for now.